Empower your leadership journey with the CEO Series. Whether you're at the gym, strolling, or commuting, our impactful dialogues with world-class leaders are just a click away. Immerse yourself in the minds of visionaries shaping today's most influential companies and innovations. It's not just an interview. It's a masterclass in leadership. Don't miss out. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and major streaming platforms.
Good morning, good evening, depending on what part of the world you're in. If it's Friday, it is the CEO Series, which has been noted as a masterclass in leadership. Our guest today is Dr. Sanjay Muthal, very good friend, long time friend, a true visionary entrepreneur, business leader known for his passion towards leadership development and technological innovation. He's built a successful career spanning years, human resource functions in several large companies. The last decade, he's been on this entrepreneurial journey, kind of just switch it and made that detour that has been characterized a relentless pursuit of innovation, commitment to excellence, widely respected globally, based out of India. He's currently the CEO of ArgoLynx Consulting LLP, a boutique executive search firm and business consulting firm, and I want to say a very, very dear friend of mine. Dr. Sanjay, how are you, man?
I'm good, Ron. Thank you so much for having me over the CEO series. And I've been following the series. It's been very well received worldwide, including in India. So I'm very excited to talk to you this evening, as we are at 6:30 in the evening in India.
Okay. 5 p.m. here, 9 p.m. here in Hong Kong, because I'm based out of Hong Kong today. So thank you so much for being a part of this show. And I was telling you earlier, and I want to say this to the audience, last time we were kind of hanging out was in Dubai at Dusitana. You had just received this Global Leadership Award, which is highly sought after, and you were one of the recipients of that. And we kind of sat there and celebrated that evening after I had come from another event. So I'm so glad to have you here. I've always wanted to kind of interview you to get a little deeper into what you do and all of that. So let's get started. So normally when we start this session, I want to get an understanding of the career journey, because lots of times people today, we see the top that you hear here, but they don't know the detours, struggles, changes, challenges, and all those kinds of things. So kind of give us a snapshot of the career journey to the point you're at now.
Sure. We'll be very happy to talk about it, Ron. So it all began with my specialization in human resources from Bombay University. Frankly, had no idea then of HR as a career because it was in nascent stage in India. We had more employee relations issues that were at the forefront those days, because if you recall, India prior to 1993 was in a mixed economy, and therefore we had more government-controlled industries and enterprises, and obviously there were large trade unions and so on and so forth. So we needed somebody as a let's say engagement between management and the trade union. So we had something called as personnel function or an employee relations function. That was the kind of emergence of human resources in India. Obviously, I was wanting to do something in the management side, and my colleagues, friends always used to tell me that you seem to be doing well when you work with and work through with people. So why don't you look at something which is more people oriented? So I remember in my business class, there were only two of us who were specializing in personnel management. Most of them were majoring in marketing, finance, and operations, and so on and so forth. But it was interesting to get that perspective, if I may say, early in terms of how do you manage people, etc., etc. So it all began there. Fortunately, out of campus, I had a couple of large MNC roles that I did, although I was at the beginning of the ladder, as it were, in the career. So I worked with two large multinationals. One was pharmaceutical company called Park Davis, which is now Pfizer,
Yeah.
and later I also worked with a French company called Sanofi Aventis. It is earlier used to be called as Hext, Marion, and Roussel in India, which
Yeah.
is now a large mega uh, pharma giant called Sanofi Aventis. Post that, interestingly, I had long stints in the Middle East, Oman, Dubai,
Oh,
and some in UK, on the north of London, Newcastle upon Tyne. And in my third decade, I came back to India and worked with large Indian enterprises. So we have large Indian groups which are today large multinational presence. And so though I worked with those three large groups. So my last role, I used to be the president of human resources with large multicultural Indian group. Again, had a lot of interest in pharma, glass, financial services, housing, so on and so forth. Until one day I realized that it's time for me to do something of my
yeah.
own. And I
Let
think
me
all of
try
us
that.
have that kind of orientation. But the way we are in the early part of the career, we come from, at least I came from, a middle class background, and therefore security first has been approached. And when you join organization, you keep growing in the organization, and therefore the cover around you in terms of ability
Yeah.
to take risks diminishes, and you get kind of cocooned into the comforts of working for large corporations. A lot of work, hectic
Yeah.
hours, but it's
Yeah.
you are again working for someone else. A, that, and B, I always used to see what is my uh, personal moment of truth in terms of, do I get recognized because I'm holding an office, or do I get recognized as Sanjay? So how do
Okay.
I find out that it is me who can stand stead and not the position that I'm holding?
Yeah.
And that quest used to bother me quite a bit. So I thought best way to test it out is to come
Try
out
it.
and
Right.
try some entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mm.
India, of course, was at the stage of, and this happened immediately after the meltdown that happened in 2008, 2009. So it was tough uh, in terms of businesses. We were trying to come out of the shock of 2008 meltdown. But as they say, when tough gets going, when going gets tough, tough gets going.
Yeah. Yeah.
So had those early challenges while making the career into entrepreneurship. Luckily for me, 3 years into my own enterprise, along with my partner, we had 100% buyout by a large Japanese group.
Oh,
It was
okay.
called as RGF, the holding company being Recruit, which is a public company headquartered in Tokyo, Japan. They're pretty big. They're 23 billion US HR company, uh, presence in multiple countries. In fact, when you hear of Indeed these days, Indeed jobs is their ownership now.
Oh, I see.
So,
Okay.
so then I ran that as a managing director for 5 years, finished my non-compete, and then now established my third venture, which is the
Yeah.
boutique HR firm.
Yeah.
And now I'm also angel investor into few startups.
Okay.
One of them has become unicorn in India. It is called as Refine, Refyne.
Yeah.
Refine is into financial wellness for employees,
Mm.
and that business is now growing quite large. So as we speak, I divide my time between ArgoLynx, which is my HR firm, and Refine, which is a fintech company. I'll stop
Yeah.
here.
Okay. You know what? I always find it amazing. When you talked about you having this successful career. I always say the initials behind the name. I'm an EVP, SVP, all those kind of things. That's cool, but there's still that thirst on the other side to say, you know what? I want to go out and try something. And I'm finding a lot of people today are going to say, you know what? I'm going to been there, done that. I'm going to try something because in a lot of the older generation, they said, this is a gravy train. I'm going to stay here for 30 years and I'm going to decide what I'm going to do. You made that decision. What was some key decision making processes that you said, you know what? I'm already successful here. I'm going to go out and try to start something. And that's what I call the detour. You this way, say, you know what, let me just go back and start something else, detour and make a left turn and try something. What was the impetus to say, there's a thirst, I got to scratch it and I got to figure out what it is?
Yeah, so as I said, I always want the entrepreneurial bug was hitting me for quite some time, but
Yeah,
as someday I had to call it out. I took that decision. So early days were tough because what happens when you're in corporations, even routine administratively, everything else is
yeah,
taken care of for you. So you travel business, you
yeah,
travel, you reach London, and there is a private car waiting for you with the placard in name Sanjay, and so on and so forth. And here I am. When I started running my own enterprise, I was telling my executive assistant, look out for the cheapest ticket on a airline, which is no frills airline. So suddenly so in a way you start rediscovering yourself.
yes,
Those are some of the moments of truth. It's people that
yeah,
who were seeking your advice till then, you are reaching out to them now and soliciting the business for your firm.
yeah,
It's a process that sometimes in somebody who's very sensitive can hamper him or her.
yeah,
But here I said, I made my decision and I need to be successful myself. Therefore,
yeah,
I will do whatever it takes for me to ensure that I'm equally successful in now alternate career that I've started.
yeah,
And so it was good, it was fun. And now when I look back, thank God I did it. Thank God I did it because I think it's given me completely new dimension in terms of
oh,
understanding the world, understanding the business. And
yeah,
now when you run your own enterprises, first thing in back of your mind is P&L.
yeah.
And
All of you own that now.
yeah. and
Somebody
and
else
when you
owns
work,
it. Somebody else wanted it before. All you wanted was the end of
that's
the
right.
month. You get my salary that's going to be transferred. But now
Correct.
you the salary transfer.
Correct. When you work for corporates, you always have some budget to play with, and that's it. I mean, so you do have a responsibility for P&L, but here it is like your own,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
therefore it's very 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 good in terms of the career that you make. And I think to me, I think everyone in globally should have some dabbling into entrepreneurship because
yes,
it is it is a it gives you a completely different perspective of yourself. You rediscover yourself, as it were. Plus it also gives you an exposure into the black boxes in your personality,
yeah,
in your own sphere where you're not gone earlier. You visit those places
yeah.
and discover new yourself. That's
You
one.
know,
Secondly, I think ability to permit me to say the ability to make impact
yeah,
also increases multifold because then you are directly accountable for what you do and what you
yeah,
don't do. And I think therefore it's interesting. Uh, and I'm really enjoying the second part of my career as much as I did in the first part.
yeah. It's called. I'm rebranding, and I'm going to do this. You know what? I thought of a story in the U.S. 2007, 2008 was a financial calamity, and a lot of companies and people lost jobs. But I read an interesting article about a priest who started in his church a session after in the afternoons for executives that lost big jobs. And this was in a wealthy town. I think it was Westport, high income area, but people who were all had all the big initials, but they were stripped of all of that when they lost their jobs. And they'd have these sessions that sit around in the room once a week or whatever. I don't remember the structure, but the main learning point when this person was writing about that, he said there was a loss of self when the initials were stripped away, because now all they had was themselves. And you talk about that black box of looking in and finding out who you are. They had never done that. And he said, I found that was the biggest struggle for people that had been here, and now they're below par, and they're trying to figure it out. They'd never given any thought to probably doing something on themselves, on their own, and all this kind of thing. He said that was the biggest issue, was being stripped of everything. And now you're starting over again by force, because you make a choice that you were going to do this. They didn't have a choice, because the company, you came in one day and the company said, we're going to lay off this entire division. You're the head of it. You're going to close it out, and you're going to lose your job. You were the SVP making high six figures, and now you are with nothing.
Sure.
I always found that interesting. Any thoughts on that?
I think if you, at least through Eastern philosophy, if you, I always believe that first of all, there is everything allocated for everyone in this world.
Yeah.
And what you deserve is what you get. And what you get is what you deserve. So, interestingly, when aspirations overtake the reality, you are sometimes confronted with this dilemma in terms of when you lose something very real, like loss of job or meltdown, which was not under your control, but you suddenly have a vacuum. But if your other side of you, which is the self, if you're invested in that, in terms of your orientation to life, orientation to work, orientation to family, I think it still holds you in a good state, because then you realize that this setback is temporary, and I have much larger things to do in life, which will come my way. I will try, and I'm fallen down today. I get up, and I'll try it again, and maybe I'll begin from step one. But so what? You know, everything in the world is not meant for you. Maybe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I would.
Go ahead.
Sorry. So I would get that through more about self-awareness and investment in self in terms of discovery.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the analogy you use, the black box of self, the black box of self. We don't really go there unless we're kind of forced to go there.
Yeah.
We
sometimes
kind of forced to go.
You know they exist, but you refrain from going there because you don't have answers to those questions in that black box. So you don't want to visit those, but it's good to visit them because it gives you a completely different perspective. And I think orientation changes in life. So
it does. It does. You've made drastic changes. You were at the top of the food chain in the corporate sector. You said, you know what, I'm going to try something. What was the anchor during that period? You know, so we appear to be confident and moving forward and all of that. But sometimes there's an anchor, there's an inspirational person in your life who you can kind of talk to. I don't want to use the word coach because I think that word is just kind of all over the place. But there's that anchor there that you can go sit down in the moment and just talk about, here's where I am. Who was the source during that period?
A couple of people. First of all, I had to speak with my wife.
Yeah.
Because the biggest impact that would have is on, quote unquote, what's going to be my revenues, what's going to be my, and you're used to a particular lifestyle. And if what my plan envisaged doesn't happen, then will it have impact on the family and family life? So that's one thing that I had to, and she was completely aligned with my thinking, and therefore I had double speed and zest to carry forward what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are, of course, a couple of anchors in terms of seniors whom I have been talking about what I do at work, what has been my what have been my failures, what have been my successes, and I knew this gentleman will guide me or give me
Mm-hmm.
the wisdom that probably I don't have in terms of. So one of them did give me a confidence saying that having seen you at work, having known you for some time, I think entrepreneurial spirit does exist in you. And I've been wanting to tell you that, in fact, you should have tried it earlier.
Okay.
And he said, if you fail, so what? People like you who have had successful track in the past, let's say for 6 months you try something new and you fail, probably you come back and industry will still accept you. So you're not going to be, losing out. It's not
Yeah.
one-way traffic.
Yeah.
You will go up to a point. If you have to take a U-turn, there'll be an option to take a U-turn and come back to the destination where you left it from. So
Mm.
some of these things told me that yes, I think I must try. When somebody senior of mine was giving me that comfort, and the family was in tandem with the decision I was taking then, uh, both these things did propel my thinking process in terms of, yeah, let me now take a plunge into unknown side of my career.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. I faced a decision like that when I left New York to move to Saudi Arabia. I was a recruiter to come over as a chief human resource and administrative officer, big title. When I found that when I got there, it was a family-owned business, and it just wasn't working out because we had totally two different perceptions. So the recruiting process told me that I was going to come in and do all these things. When they got there, just nope, you're going to do one thing and do that. I said I didn't travel 7,000 miles to do this. So I was trying to think about it. So I'm saying that to say anchor on what you just said, and it came to a point. I said, you know what? Um, I'll give it 1 year. I'll quit this job and I'll give it 1 year to see what it works. I can always go back to New York and pick up from there. So lots of times in making decisions, you said, "What's the worst thing can happen?" Still able-bodied, still good mind, and
Yeah.
do these things. I'll just try it, and if not, I'll just go back. But lots of times, I think people today have been. I think corporate world coddles people because I talk to so
Yeah.
many people that were at the stage and they really, really want to do something. But every time I talk to them, they're still thinking, I said, how many times you gonna tell the story? I mean, I've heard this 5 times already. I said, if we talk again, I want you to say, this is what I'm doing now.
Yeah. I think it creates a artificial layer of a security around you, and
Yeah.
more time you spend, it doubles up and it triples up, and it
Hmm.
goes on multifold with the result. Your ability to take risk on career diminishes
Yeah.
because you start living in that zone of comfort. And
Yeah.
so
Hmm.
one thing that I always wanted to do, and I still continue to do, is when I wake up in the morning, I have at least have 4 to 5 problems to solve.
Okay.
So moment I get up, I look at my diary or my iPad and say, listen, this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 needs my answer today. And therefore I must get now into the action. The
Okay.
day I don't have that, on the weekends and so on and so forth, sometimes I see, oh, has world forgotten me? Is there something that I'm not doing right, that I don't have a mail today or something like
Yeah.
that? So
Yeah.
I think those are some of these funny things, but yeah, they do matter. I'm sure you do have similar moments
This,
of
this is why I'm laughing as you talk through that, because sometimes I wake up on a weekend, I have a clean slate, and I'm like, wow, what am I gonna do? But it's okay to have a clean slate. And I think that's
absolutely.
the biggest challenge you have to figure out. It's okay. I got a flight tomorrow morning. I leave Hong Kong and I'm going to be in Singapore for a week. So I've got a day and a half of free time to do this. So I called up some friends. Let's hang out Saturday night in Singapore. Let's do this on Sunday, do breakfast. And the whole thing is full. So I'm saying that to say, for me, and every person has to have their own MO, I have to have bullet points.
Yep.
Whether it's work or whether it's whatever it is, I have to have bullet points, because if I get up and it's completely blank, whereas a lot of people would kill to have that, I don't operate that way. But that's okay, because we all have our own styles. Do you find it the same thing, kind of?
Absolutely, absolutely. I need my bullet points every day. I need.
Yeah.
I need problems to solve.
Problems to solve.
But if otherwise, it becomes very linear life, and linear life doesn't create traction. Only when you create traction, when the rubber meets the road, that's when the acceleration happens. Without that, it's just standing there. The tire is just standing there. I think so something like that is extremely, extremely enjoyable. And sometimes on a weekend or something, the problems can be even societal. The problems can be even around the community that you live in. They are seeking your opinion or something like that, or you need to go and visit some NGO or whatever. But there should be something that your mind is gainfully engaged in terms of resolving something. That doesn't mean I don't have peace, or I don't have holidays, or I don't have. Yes, they are, but the DNA is so structured that you just want to ensure that. So some people do ask, when will you retire? I said, retire? How do you spell it? I don't know the spelling of it, so I can't even think what that word means.
Yeah. I shudder to think of that, because so again, it's different MOs. That would never work for me, because I need the bullet points and I need the things to do. My father was an entrepreneur. He had a small business and he worked basically 7 days a week. And he said it doesn't bother him. He said, because I enjoy what I do. And once I got out and got the degree, he never finished college. He wanted everybody to get a degree. We all got degrees and we started working. But I always wanted to go back to what he was doing, small business, but I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And so you go through, you get into companies and you rise to the top, and you're not a big shot, but the thirst was on something else.
Exactly.
And it was always there. And when I decided to quit and walk away from it, people say, you are absolutely out of your mind. You were here and now you're going to try. What are you, crazy?
I heard the same, exactly the same. A lot of friends turned to me and said that, what the hell are you doing? You're at the peak of your career. You're now just 45 and you have so many years to go. What are you doing? I said, yes, what I'm doing is what I want to do. And things like that. So this is me. Yeah, this is absolutely me. You're right. You're right. And Ron, now I travel a lot within country, even internationally for work. And my travel is pretty crazy. I'm almost like you, 20 or 21 days out of the month, I'm on the flights. And that's right. Weekends I'm back, and weekends I'm completely engaged. So I've now developed last couple of years passion for singing. And so I do, although this is a Bollywood singing, but I've joined a studio and I do some shows, and now got a little elevated in terms of going to theater and performing and so on and so forth. So it's enjoyable. And when I'm on the road going, I carry my running gear and I do my 12 kilometers run every day. So running and singing are currently two passions that I follow.
Okay, so in February when I come to Mumbai, I'm going to follow up with that. I want to come to one of your events and sit in the audience to partake.
At your own peril, I must say.
That's okay. That's okay, because I see my friend here doing his thing.
Yeah,
it doesn't talk about perfection. You're doing something that you're getting something. There's the yearning that you're getting out of that, which is important.
At the end of the day, one life, Ron, you do what you feel like doing, isn't it? It's only one life that we have.
Yeah.
And therefore, I think we should do what one thinks to do. And if you have ability to do it in a manner that, work permits you, family permits you, and so on and so forth, then why not?
Yeah, someone posted something on LinkedIn the other day, which was really powerful. It was someone's funeral, and the person was a high executive, but they talked about what life meant to them. They talked about the passion for this. There was no talk about careers and SVP of this. You're responsible for 5 billion in revenue. Absolutely off the table. And it was talking about this person had a passion for this, had a passion for this. And anybody want to donate, don't do flowers, donate here, because this was his important passion in life. And I said it was the best obituary I've ever read. And I said everyone should read through that as you're striving for things. Leave an imprint, because
Absolutely.
the 9 to 5 corporate stuff, nobody cares.
Absolutely. I used to always tell the programs I used to that if people write your obituary, what will they write about you?
Yeah.
And I think that's the most powerful thing. What people will say once you're gone.
Mm-hmm.
So make that work when you're working today to
Yeah.
ensure that you have that obituary.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this: how do you stay grounded? So you've got your passions on the side, because being an entrepreneur, there's a whole lot of issues. You got the bullet points and all this kind of thing, and there's the bullet points, and there's the bullet points beyond bullet points that's still sitting out there that you're trying to deal with. How do you stay grounded? What techniques do you use to stay grounded in some way, shape? Go ahead.
Sure. Basics of that is the values that you grew up with. Middle class values, middle class family values keep you grounded all the time. Which says success should not make you go berserk, and failure should not deter you. That I think each one of our parents, families have taught us the same values, which is be respectful to the people, speak the truth, character is most important, integrity is most important. Somewhere during our career, for whatever reasons, some of us do take detour from that. In my case, I have ensured that I stuck to what I believed and what got ingrained in me. So success has not really made me lose my focus, and the failure, if any, did not really deter me. In fact, they made me more stronger in terms of resolve to climb again if I had a fall. So that's, I think, fundamentally, and in the Indian value system, joint family still exists. We have lots of cousins and uncles and aunts and so on and so forth. So all of them have been like a bedrock for building in your initial personality, and I think that's been fairly helpful in terms of maintaining the sanity, as it were, in your life, to ensure that if success doesn't belong to you, then failure doesn't belong to you as well, and don't get either way. So I'm really happy. The other thing I must share is I'm blessed with huge amount of friends.
Network.
In network. So my net worth is my network.
Yeah.
And therefore,
network. How you said network is net worth. Oh, I like that.
Correct. My net worth is my network.
Okay.
So every city that I go visit, I have enough and more friends. They have professional, personal, or professional friends and personal. So having dinner engagement, having a cocktails and so on and so forth, or chatting over a coffee and things like that. So I think life has been hugely blessed by elders, friends, and the work that you did through your journey. At the end of the day, I think I firmly believe that if you sow right, you will reap it right. The way you sow, so shall you reap, is something that stayed with me. And the second thing that always stayed with me is that if your intentions are honorable, then forces of nature connive to make it happen.
Behind the scenes.
So it's so true. I have practiced that in my life, and I've seen it in my life, that if your intentions are good, you see sometimes headwinds, but they turn into tailwinds, and you reach your destination faster. So I think at the end of the day, you have to thank. Gratitude opens the door to abundance, and I'm extremely full of practicing gratitude in my life, because I think if you're not grateful to what you do, what you have, then you don't deserve to have it.
Yeah.
If you're grateful for what you are, the abundance mindset comes in, and when abundance mindset comes in, the scarcity mindset goes away. And when abundance mindset creeps in, it shows the world that world is all one, it's equal, everybody has enough in the world to partake and have their share, and therefore there is enough for you to have your own share. The unhealthy competitiveness disappears, the deceit disappears. You start believing first in yourself, and you start believing in the ecosystem around you, and it only needs to very positive existence of everything around you in life. So gratitude and abundance go hand in hand, and I'm firm believer and practicing of these two.
Okay, cool. You know, when I first started this show, I would try and take notes, but I can't take notes because there's so many. You dropped so many nuggets within the past since the show has started. And one of the reasons we decided to do the CEO series, our focus initially was starting out talking about HR people, workforce design, workforce architect. Nobody cared. But people cared about how did you get there to do this, and you're doing something else. So the premise of the show has kind of evolved, and just wanted to hear life stories in doing that, and which is important because there's a lot of people struggling between I'm doing this, but I want to do something else. I really, I've been thinking of this a long time, and I'm just struggling. You know, one person told me, he said, it's the first thing I listen to on Friday mornings because it's kind of my pickup and it leads into the weekend and all those kinds of things. And this is what we try and import. And that story that you just told was just full of nuggets. I could not have even taken notes to kind of recapture all of that. So I want to ask you for what advice would you give to the corporate executive, the big shot, who has all the initials, but there's that inner thirst, and maybe they're just, to break it down to street yard thing, they're afraid to venture out. So
the first advice, if at all it is advice, because somehow when you grow up in the ladder and you get recognized, people start prescribing things. I don't think anybody in the world, at least not me, is competent enough to prescribe certain things. We are all learning every day. I learn from you, you learn from me. We keep learning and growing. So first thing to corporate executive is enjoy life. Because if you don't enjoy what you have and run after what you don't have, you will never have anything that will satisfy you ever in life. And when you're not satisfied, it is not only you have repercussions of that on every relationship that you have. And when you have every relationship, it's a ripple effect. When it doesn't work, then the existence itself comes into and people get into all sorts of things. They withdraw, they get alcoholic, they get whatever. First thing is to enjoy life and understand that you are doing your best in terms of whatever is under your control. There are too many variables in the life. Every variable cannot be under your control. And therefore, do things that can work under your control. So I always, this is my favorite. You draw two circles. There's one circle of influence, and there is outer circle is circle of concern. Now, most of us get into things that are into matter of concern, circle of concern, and not circle of
Yeah.
influence.
Yeah.
With the result, I wish XYZ, and I'm not naming the name. There is elections happening soon in United States of America. Should not become president is my circle of concern. I can't do anything about it. So why I should even be concerned about it? There is a circle of influence, which is tomorrow, can I solve this problem? Tomorrow, can I help so and so? Tomorrow, can I do something which is going to bring more bottom line to my company, which is under my influence? Can I do that?
Yeah.
So if you start spending more time on the matters that you can influence
Control.
than the matter you're concerned, I think things fall much better. And you also have a realistic expectations of what you have and what you should have.
Mhm. And it kind of brings that clarity, because sometimes it's so clouded. When I
Yes.
talk to people, and sometimes I don't know what, I seem to be a repository of people calling, and they always want to share things. And every time there's a call, you're talking through this and you're listening to it. And I said, well, you told me this last time. I'm always one to say, you told me this last time. So last
Yes.
it was a month ago. We're still talking the same thing. Talk to me about steps to solutions to wipe that off the screen. If you wipe that bullet point off, you've got a whole lot more time to deal with the other things that's under there.
Absolutely.
And then
Absolutely.
somebody will laugh and say, Ron, this is why I like to talk to you, because you'll always bring clarity. I said, yeah, I bring clarity, but if I talk to you again, I don't want to hear it again.
Sure. Sure. I think other element which is omnipresent in humanity or human race is being judgmental.
Mm.
And I think that's huge detrimental again for building positive relationships
Yeah.
at work, in family, in offices, or wherever you are. And most of us get judgmental.
Yeah.
Right from the way somebody speaks, from the way somebody dresses up. I mean, as simple things of like that, versus where somebody comes from, which country somebody comes from, and so on and so forth. And then you just lose an opportunity of being holistically connected with that gentleman or a lady. I think if you stop being judgmental, take people on their face value,
Yeah.
relationships hugely improve. And that also helps you as a leader when you work with your teams.
Mm.
So that is something that I really practice, and I'm very fond of that.
Okay.
Don't be judgmental.
Okay.
Practice gratitude, and abundance will follow you.
Mm. I want to do
More
a
sounding like
shout.
I don't want to sound like a guru, but I'm just saying
No.
this because because this is what I
Yeah.
believe in firmly. This is what I
Yeah.
practice. So people ask me, I never see you getting angry. I said, why should I get angry? Because anybody gets angry is only when you cannot control the situation that is under your control.
Yeah. Mm.
And therefore you expect something from Ron to behave in certain manner. Ron is on different planet. He's not behaving that way. And I get angry on you for what?
Yeah.
So
I kind of look at the anger piece. That's an energy drainer. So my tank could be 3/4 full. If I go through that anger process and getting even and all of this, all of a sudden, I need a refill because I've drained all the energy I have, and
true.
I gotta kind of start over again or whatever it is. I want to do a quick shout out to some of our frequent listeners. Peter Piccinini, who's going to be an upcoming guest, was in the art field and all that. Now he's a wealth manager. And
Wow.
I'm always intrigued by people. You start one way and then you develop a passion and you're doing something else. And you tried
Look at
something. Another good friend who listens in every week is John Self, who's started as a reporter, who became an editor, then they got an executive search. Now he runs a career counseling service and all these things. And I love all these trajectories of people because it makes the world a richer place of what they do and how they can share this advice. And so one of the key points behind the platform, as I said earlier, I want people to share those stories behind. I want you to get it out of here, to get it out. And we have a global audience. We listen to all over the globe, every Friday, at this time, because it's important to share the struggles. Because I've often said, if the ceilings could talk, they could write a dissertation. Because you come in, you're suited up, you take off everything, and then you laying there in the middle of the night looking at the ceiling. That's when the thoughts come in, and you're trying to fight this one away, do this, the bullet points, and it's a struggle. So I want to end it with this final question. When you look back on your career, what would you say was the most pivotal point? If you had to sum it up and say one or two things, what was it?
Tipping point? What's the question you said? Sorry, I missed that.
If you look back on your career, what would you say you're most proud of that you decided to make that right turn to do this, or whatever it was that you're most proud of that you did? What was the stamp to say this started it all?
So in my case, obviously, my initial into entrepreneurial journey has been extremely important for me, and that change in my career, I'm very happy and proud of. But Ron, in my entire work career, one thing that really, when I look back, is with wherever I worked, whichever corporation I worked, I've had relationships with people which were beyond office. I've had relationships with people which were emotional. And I'll just give you an example. When I left my job in the Middle East and I was getting back home after almost 10 years, I'm not joking, but over 200 people came to see me off at airport. And some of them with families. And these are people that some of them have been in office and worked with me and so on and so forth. And there was one small kid, just of 6-7 years. And in my role in that organization, I was helping them because the colleague that this child was passed away in the office about a year ago. And I've helped them in terms of rebuilding these, in the family, in terms of giving some support, so on and so forth, helping organization to support them, and they really got. So that small girl just held my foot like this and said, "Don't go."
Oh.
And I had only tears in my eyes.
Yeah.
And I think if you can make people who work with you laugh with you, but share tears with you, I think human relationships then go much deeper, and they actually exist for not sake of work relationship, but they go deeper. And I've been kind of blessed with a lot of deeper relationships. All of them are in touch with me from wherever I work. I have large friends, large families that we are still in touch, and we celebrate whenever we meet. What else do you need as a human being? All of us are here for a purpose in life, right? You have some purpose, I have some purpose. Now, all of us need to rediscover our purpose. We don't start originally with what purpose we have, but as you go on the way, you discover, rediscover, and rediscover your purpose. And then you really feel fine. And everyone around you is in that process of finding purpose. So as a leader, if I can help somebody find his or her own purpose, I don't think anything deeper than that you can do for humanity. And I think that's the beauty.
Yeah. You can't top that. A child holding onto your and said, "Please don't go." I mean, I was feeling emotional as you were telling that story. But I referenced, and I know we're running up on time. A gentleman, when we first started the series, who was a general manager of a hotel in Dubai, and he had been there a long period of time, 300-400 employees reporting in. You know how big the hotels are there. And this was his last day at work because they was going to transfer him. They was going to go and move into a new region. And he came in that morning, same way, parked his car. As he walked in, the hallways were full of people. And he opened the door and it was all this applaud. Now he had to walk maybe 100 yards to get to his location. And every time he turned the corner, there were people came to work on their day off.
Wow.
And it was just, and I often said from that is leadership.
That is leadership. To me, that's leadership. Absolutely. Absolutely. Not the corner office, not the 17th floor, not the 70th floor. This is leadership. Having come from this part of the world, India, I am proud proponent of style of leadership that Mahatma Gandhi provided. Which is servant leadership.
Servant.
Keep your subjects ahead of you and lead from behind. Mm-hmm. It's such a powerful way of leading people. And the first thing it does is your I, me, myself goes down. Exactly. And we come to the fore. It's such a beautiful thing. And therefore, the 3 principles that I also try to follow, I'll say that in first Hindi and I'll translate it for you. 3 guiding principles of leadership: Satya, Seva, and Prem, which is truth, service, and love and compassion. If your leadership construct is on this tripod, you're bound to be the most successful leader around.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Sanjay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ron. I really enjoyed talking with you, and I hope our conversation, people find it meaningful and useful.
It was awesome, but I knew it was going to be awesome because I know you, so I knew it was going to be awesome. Everybody else says, yeah, it's cool, but I knew it was going to reach this level. So thank you so much. And as we begin to close it, I want to thank you for being a guest. And any closing thoughts as to being on the show? Any thoughts you want to leave the audience with before we close out? And I'll give you a shot.
First of all, I must congratulate you for starting something which is so meaningful. We get into a lot of learning material, but hearing somebody is the most powerful way to reinforce certain of our values and beliefs, whether we are on the right track or not right track. I think so therefore CEO series, congratulations and kudos to you. And second thing is, I think the human life is meant to impact others. See, everyone lives for their own family's sake. But if you can make one more person outside your family smile, then I think we'll have series of smiles around us, and the world will be much happier and better place. And very seldom probably we'll have Russia and Ukraine.
Cool. Thank you so much. Hang on, we're going to close out. For people that's watching the show, comment, share the series with other people. I need you to comment and like this show, because that increases the algorithms and all those kind of things. So for the audience, if you could do me that favor, I'm sure you got value out of it, the interesting people we bring on. So thank you, and I'll see everyone next Friday. And Dr. Sanjay, hold on for a second as we close out officially.
Sure. I'm around. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Take the CEO series with you anywhere, anytime. All episodes are now available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and major streaming platforms. It's not just an interview. It's a masterclass in leadership.